In the majority of the United States, the eviction moratorium came to an end months ago. But in these places, the eviction moratorium continues on. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. Alright, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's going over the places in the United States where there still are eviction moratoriums. So, as most people on here know, the CDC, the federal eviction moratorium, it ended back in August after the Supreme Court threw it out, okay? Unconstitutional, unlawful, and thank goodness they got rid of the thing. But unfortunately, there were a lot of states and local jurisdictions where they just said, hey, we're going to continue with this ridiculousness and we're going to punish these landlords for no good reason. So the logic that they had behind it was that, oh, we're going to extend this eviction moratorium until we're able to get the rental assistance out to landlords. But as I have mentioned many times before, one, not all landlords and not all tenants actually qualified for the rental assistance. And two, even if you did qualify for the rental assistance, the majority of these states and local jurisdictions were doing a horrible job at distributing it, okay? There was so much bureaucracy that it was taking weeks, months, who knows, even years maybe to finally get some sort of payment. And for small mom and pop landlords, what that meant was that they had to suffer, possibly facing foreclosure, bankruptcy, ruined credit, etc., so they could keep these tenants in their properties until they got that rental assistance. So, yeah, I mean, it makes no sense to me whatsoever why they kept all this stuff rolling and why these places have decided not to end the moratoriums yet. But, thankfully, the number of places where this is still going on is relatively small. So, before I get into the article, though, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button. Maybe leave a comment down below and let me know, does the place where you live, are they still under these eviction moratoriums? I know I've read comments from people who are in Los Angeles and, in other places, and they're still suffering right now. So, yeah, it can be pretty bad for you if you still have to face these kind of ridiculous rules and regulations. So, this article, it comes from CNBC.com, and it says, evictions are still banned in these states. And let's see what it says. Months after the national ban on evictions expired, a number of states and cities have either kept in place or implemented their own policies to try to keep families in their homes. Despite heavy opposition by landlords, advocates say these policies are necessary with hardship among tenants still so high. More than 15% of adult renters continue to say they're behind, with as many as 28% of African American-led households reporting the same. So yeah, once again, they go straight into, the racial dynamics of it. Okay, this isn't a racial issue. This has to do with people who are paying their rent and who are not paying their rent. And I just wish they would stay focused on that fact. They also try to garner sympathy in the very first paragraph when they're talking about how they're trying to keep families in their homes. Okay, at this point in time, there is no reason why landlords shouldn't be getting paid their rent. Okay, there's more than enough jobs out there that were available. Even throughout the entire pandemic, there were plenty of stimulus checks going out. There was plenty of, the child tax credit, the extended unemployment benefits that landlords should have still been getting paid. But instead, the tenants were, using the money for other things. Okay. So now we are left with the fact that there's no reason for these eviction moratoriums to still be going on. And the people who didn't pay their rent during the eviction moratorium were likely the very same people who would have faced eviction had there never been an eviction moratorium, had there never been a pandemic, and they were just going about their lives. So there's no reason to be protecting these people at this point. So yeah, very, very frustrating, but I can already tell you right now where this article is headed, and it's not looking to be a very landlord-friendly article. One analysis over the summer found that the average renter in arrears owes around $3,700. In some areas, though, rental debts top $10,000 per household. Okay, and they have a nice little graph of the United States on there. And obviously, California, the rental debts are going to be the highest. And in the South and the Midwest, renters tend to owe less money, but obviously because the rents are a lot cheaper in these places. But yeah, I'm not surprised. I'll throw it up on the screen over here, or maybe I'll just put it on the whole screen so that you can see a good look of what it looks like, The $45 billion in aid Congress passed in the thick of the pandemic to deliver relief to renters has been painfully slow to reach families, with just around $12 billion spent so far. So that's about one quarter. Advocates blame the troubled rollout of the funds on complicated applications and short staffing across the hundreds of organizations tasked with giving out the money. Delays have been brutal, said Daniel Rose, an organizer at Housing Justice Now in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, adding that he knows of one renter who submitted her application 3 months ago and still hasn't gotten an answer. It's a form of psychological torture, waiting for these bureaucracies to get their acts together. And it kind of bothers me. I told you I already saw where this article was headed, but notice they haven't talked to any landlords. Instead of talking to landlords, they're talking to tenant advocates and tenant right groups and lawyers. This is who they always talk to. They don't want to get both sides of the story. They don't want to know how the landlord is dealing with this. All they want to know is that they want to push their little agenda and push the story the way that they think. They want you to think the way they do, and this is how they do it. Okay, this is very frustrating reading articles like this, but at least we can see through it. In response to the delays, a number of states and jurisdictions have established eviction protections until more of the relief gets out. Connecticut, Virginia, Oregon, Massachusetts, Michigan, and Minnesota, as well as Washington, D.C., all have limits on evictions tied to the rental assistance process that will last until 2022, according to an analysis by the COVID-19 Eviction Moratorium team. So yeah, those states, they don't actually still have a full eviction moratorium, but they do have, if a tenant applied for rental assistance, then they can't be evicted from the property, even if they don't qualify. Okay, they just can't be evicted. Even if the landlord wants to get rid of them, they can't because the tenant applied for the rental assistance. So it essentially is kind of like a rental assistance extension, but it's not technically one. Okay, it's more of a play on words, a way that they could get around keeping the eviction moratorium in place, but not really keeping it in place. Okay, so that's up in Connecticut, Virginia, Oregon, Massachusetts, Michigan, and Minnesota, as well as Washington, D.C. And these are all states that vote Democrat. Okay, these are very left-leaning places, so I'm not surprised at all. The politics vary, but in Connecticut and Virginia, for example, a landlord has to file for federal rental assistance before filing an eviction. And in Michigan, the eviction process is paused while an application for aid is pending. Meanwhile, 3 states continue to have a statewide eviction moratorium in effect. Most renters in New Jersey and New York can't be evicted until January. New Mexico has also prohibited renters from being pushed out of their homes and hasn't yet specified when the protection will end. Yeah, and I did a video on the fact that there is no end to the New Mexico eviction moratorium, okay? It has been basically extended indefinitely. So for any landlords in New Mexico, I really feel sorry for you if you're facing any troubles right now, because it doesn't look like this is going to be ending anytime soon. I hope there's some sort of court case or somebody suing or something is happening that could get you out of this sort of situation. Now in New York and New Jersey, this is going to continue at least until January 2022. But remember, it's the middle of the winter come January, okay? So do you really think that they're going to be like, oh yeah, we're going to kick all these people, allow all these people to be kicked out in the middle of the winter? I don't, okay? I don't have faith that they're going to allow the eviction moratorium to expire in January. I honestly just don't. So it wouldn't surprise me if the new governor up there in New York and the governor of New Jersey, if they just decided, hey, we're going to extend it at least until the spring. So then you guys could be suffering for months, and it's a complete joke. Now, don't forget that there's also local jurisdictions where there's still eviction moratoriums going on. So this article didn't cover any of that, but I know for a fact that the city of Los Angeles has their own local eviction moratorium that's still going on right now, even though the state of California's eviction moratorium has expired. And the city of Seattle also has its own local eviction moratorium that's still in place. So yeah, I mean, this isn't over yet. Landlords are still suffering all throughout the country, and I don't know when all of this will finally be done for everyone.